Hi, this is Scott with Resilient Ecology Systems and Design, and today we're going to be talking about how to measure your property, how to map the property, and some of these tools will even help you with evaluating potential properties that you're looking at if you're looking to develop a permaculture system. So, before we really start to talk about measuring and mapping, we should talk about some of the different design philosophies in permaculture. You tend to have two main camps in permaculture in regards to mapping. Peter Bain, who is a great permaculture designer, tends to be more of the camp that you should have detailed base maps who really go into different areas about permaculture sectors and zones, and those are things that we're going to talk about in future videos. And then you have some people like Paul Wheaton and maybe even Sepp Holzer who are from the camp that mapping can be nice to explain an idea, but it's more important to go out and get a feel for the land and to maybe in an artistic way try and decide what it is that you're trying to do and to be able to be more flexible with the moment to moment decisions that you're making. So, I'm not going to go into which of those two camps is best because honestly, at the end of the day, you as the individual designer are going to have to decide what it is best fits your style. Some people prefer to have a really well laid out, well researched plan, and some people prefer to have a little bit of flexibility with what it is that they want to do. So, with that out of the way, let's talk about some of the individual tools that you may want to use when measuring the property, because no matter which camp you decide that you belong to as far as designing a base map, there are still important things to be able to figure out, like how to figure out ISO elevation lines, how to be able to figure out, uh, you know, basically where areas of the same elevation are, because when you put in a swale, that's going to need to be on the same level of elevation because you want that bottom to be flat. So we're going to start with some of the most basic systems, and then we're going to go into explaining a little bit of the more complex systems and to just give a brief overview of the different tools that you can use for measuring your permaculture landscape as cheaply as possible. So first is going to be the A-frame. The A-frame was something that was used widely in ancient Rome, and it was probably used even far before then. The A-frame looks pretty much like the capital letter A. So if you can imagine that in your head, it's a great way to find areas of equal elevation that are close together. So if you have that letter A, right, like that, this bar that goes across the middle of the letter A has a marking where there's a string attached with a weight at the top of the letter. The weight hangs down, and when you're on level ground, you put a mark on the bar that goes across where the string is laying right over. And that's going to tell you that it's even. Now you can imagine if you were to take the A and you were to put one end uphill, that string's going to swing and it's no longer going to be where that little tick mark that you made is. So in that way, you can rotate the letter A like this and then, tilt it, rotate it like that, and crawl your way across the landscape, moving the one of the legs around until you can find that area of equal elevation where the string is going right by that hash mark. That is a quick, easy way to find areas of equal elevation. And all that it really takes are two straight sticks, well, three straight sticks, and a piece of string with a counterweight. They're almost things that you can improvise on the property, perhaps. So that's really the simplest solution. Another way to do it is a spirit level. And for this, you're going to need a long piece of flexible plastic tubing that's preferably transparent. Well, actually, it has to be transparent. And then 2 meter sticks, just like ones that you would see in a school with all the little tick marks on them. You're going to take the meter stick, you're going to attach the plastic tubing on one side, and then kind of let the plastic tubing go out, and then get the other meter stick and attach it again. Now you're going to keep the open end of the tube up, and you're going to fill it with water. And you'll notice that if you have the meter sticks taped to the plastic tubing at the same spot, that the water will have the same reading. It may say 10 centimeters on one stick, and if the other stick is in an area of equal elevation, it'll say 10 centimeters on the other stick. The nice thing about a spirit level is that, kind of like the A-frame, it's cheap to make, but you can go over much greater distances. So if you have a piece of plastic tubing that's maybe 50 feet long, you could have one person stand in one spot and then the two people leapfrog over each other. And as long as the numbers are reading the same, that means that you're on an area of the same elevation. Uh, an interesting thing is that the difference in the size of the numbers is going to correspond to a difference in pressure, which is actually going to give you the difference in elevation between the two areas, as long as it's calibrated right. So, that's another interesting plus for using a spirit level. Some people call it a bunyip, and I believe that that's what it's called in Australia. So, those are two cheap, easy ways to get into some of the more modern ways of measuring areas of equal elevation or just measuring elevation in general. There's a transit, which is going to be like a very small telescope on a tripod that you calibrate towards level, and you're going to basically look through it and shoot elevations to other areas of equal elevation, preferably hitting a target on a yardstick. That's the most accurate way to do it. There are a few different ways to use a transit, but that's the best way. Transits were widely used by the USGS to create a lot of the maps that we still use in the United States today. Outside of transits, especially for looking at maybe medium to large or medium size properties of 5 to 10 acres. There's a rotating self-leveling laser level. Yeah, probably got those words mixed up. But what that is it's a high-powered laser that's safe for your eyes. It's only a class 3 laser, and it rotates really fast. And what you do is you have one yardstick with a little laser detector on it that you're going to calibrate, and then you leave the tripod with a laser mounted on top, and that laser will shoot an equal line across the entire area. Sometimes they're usually like 1 to 200 foot range for those lasers, unless you're going to get a really powerful one. And what you can do with the little yardstick with the sensor is you walk around the property, putting it down, and finding out where it's beeping. So all the areas after you've calibrated and you haven't adjusted the yardstick that the detector's beeping are going to be areas of equal elevation. The nice thing about this system is you're going to be able to, as one person, go around maybe with marking flags after you've set up the system and the yardstick and sensor, go around and actually mark the areas that are of equal elevation. So that's probably the quickest way to do it, especially if you're doing it as a one-person job, and they are very, very accurate. Usually the accuracy over 100 feet is going to be between a quarter and an eighth of an inch. Sometimes if you spend more money, they can be more. The downside is that they cost money, they use electricity, they're going to go through batteries, things like that. So, just some general decisions to think about when you're looking at measuring the property. A good thing for distance is to be able to use a compass and to be able to have a long, like 100-foot tape measure. Between figuring out the distances of things and the angles that they're sitting at with a compass, you can create a pretty accurate base map, in a half a day of a pretty decent sized property, up to about 5 acres, I'd say. What you're going to want to do is map out the locations of the different landmarks, like major trees, if you have water going through the property, surface water, roads, maybe utilities. Those kind of things are all going to be important. And once we have a base map created, either by drawing one, sketching one, or using a computer program like SketchUp, which is free on Google, or potentially even using a paid GIS software that'll allow you to do like more advanced calculations going forward and more advanced planning going forward, you're really going to have a good situational awareness of the site and just a sense of where things are, how much room you have, and that'll help you to plan out what it is that you want to do with your property and maybe some of the possibilities that are open. Just remember to keep in mind some of the restrictions as far as zoning, as far as setbacks from the edge of your property. Most places you can't build a building in Coconino County if you're in rural zoning within 20 to 30 feet of your property boundary. So it's important to keep those kind of things in mind. Creating a nice map, using the right tools, hopefully inexpensive tools, is going to give you a much better sense of that. Once you get the elevations down and you can create a contour map, of your property, you'll be able to figure out where the water flows and where everything goes. So again, this is Scott with Resilient Ecology Systems and Design, just something to think about with the tools, and I hope that you have a great day.